Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome to State of Affairs, Zimbabwe News Channel, your trusted source for in-depth analysis, political insight, and the truth behind the headlines. Today we bring you a detailed report on key developments shaping Zimbabwe's political and economic landscape. From Kutakwashe Tagwirei's renewed push for Vision 2030, to Nelson Chamisa's outcry over the abduction and torture of cut students, the National Prosecuting Authority's decision to withdraw a forfeiture case against businessmen Moses Mpofu and Mike Chimambe, and the explosive claims by NDWG accusing ZANU-PF of orchestrating Job Sikhala's arrest in South Africa. This is a full review of the week's biggest stories, told with clarity, balance, and truth. Let's begin. Tagwirei hits the ground running. Backs ED's 2030, Plan business magnate Kutakwashe Tagwirei, has once again made headlines after firmly throwing his weight behind President Emmerson Mnangagwa's Vision 2030 plan. Tagwirei, one of Zimbabwe's most influential businessmen, has reportedly hit the ground running, pledging renewed support for the government's economic revival agenda. Insiders within the ruling party say Tagwirei's involvement comes at a crucial moment when the administration seeks to stabilize the economy, rebuild infrastructure, and restore investor confidence. Known for his close ties to the president, Tagwirei has been described as a key pillar in the so-called Second Republic economic machine, using his networks in fuel, mining, and agriculture to keep government projects afloat even in times of economic strain. Observers say Tagwirei's latest moves indicate a deeper alignment with Mnangagwa's long-term vision, one that seeks to transform Zimbabwe into a middle-income economy by the year 2030. Sources close to Secunda Holdings suggest that Tagwirei's new initiatives will focus on energy self-sufficiency, local currency stability, and rural industrialization, themes central to Mnangagwa's economic blueprint. However, critics warn that Tagwirei's growing influence could widen internal party rivalries. Within ZANU-PF, there are whispers that his closeness to the president could unsettle other powerful factions, particularly those aligned with Vice President Constantino Chiwenga. Analysts argue that Tagwirei's re-emergence could reshape not only the economic direction, but also the political balance heading into the 2028 elections. To the public, the businessman's return has been met with mixed reactions. Supporters view him as a patriotic investor, a man who believes in the Zimbabwean dream and continues to back the president's vision despite sanctions and criticism. But others see him as a symbol of state capture, an untouchable figure whose power extends far beyond the boardroom. Whichever side one takes, one thing remains clear. Tagwirei's renewed push for Vision 2030 has repositioned him as one of the most important players in Zimbabwe's political economy. His message to citizens is simple: let's build Zimbabwe together. Yet for many, the real question remains: who benefits most from this rebuilding, the people or the elite? Chamisa condemns abduction and torture of cut students. Meanwhile, opposition leader Nelson Chamisa has issued a strong statement condemning the abduction and torture of Chinhoyi University of Technology students. The students were allegedly targeted after participating in peaceful demonstrations calling for better living conditions and academic freedom. According to reports, several students were taken by unidentified men, tortured, and later dumped by the roadside. The news has sparked outrage across Zimbabwe, with human rights groups demanding an urgent investigation. Chamisa, in his address, said the incident reflects the moral decay of the current leadership. He went further to make a shocking comparison, saying, "Even during Robert Mugabe's era, we never saw such levels of cruelty and disregard for human rights." His comments have ignited a fierce political debate across social media and within civil society. Chamisa's remarks were both emotional and defiant. He said, "A government that fears students fears the future itself. We cannot call ourselves free when young. People are being tortured for expressing their views." Government officials have dismissed Chamisa's comments as cheap politics, insisting that investigations are underway and that the police are committed to finding those responsible. But for many Zimbabweans, this incident mirrors a growing pattern, one where dissenting voices, journalists, and activists face intimidation and brutality. Human rights organizations, including Amnesty International and the Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum, have echoed Chamisa's concerns, calling on authorities to ensure accountability. They argue that abductions have become a political weapon used to silence criticism, a pattern that undermines democracy and creates fear among the youth. The political implications of Chamisa's statement go beyond human rights. By invoking Mugabe's name and suggesting that the former ruler's era was better than Mnangagwa's, Chamisa has effectively challenged the moral legitimacy of the current administration. Such statements resonate deeply with citizens who feel disillusioned by the slow pace of reforms and worsening economic hardship. As one political analyst put it, Chamisa's message was not just about the students. It was a statement about the soul of the nation. NPA withdraws move to forfeit Mpofu and Chimombi property. In another major development, the National Prosecuting Authority has withdrawn its bid to forfeit properties belonging to businessmen Moses Mpofu and Mike Chimombi. The two, who are facing charges linked to corruption allegations, can now temporarily breathe a sigh of relief. The decision has raised eyebrows across the country. The NPA gave no detailed explanation beyond saying that the move was procedural, leaving many wondering if political pressure influenced the outcome. Mpofu and Chimombi have been controversial figures for months, accused of benefiting from lucrative government tenders, including the presidential GOAT scheme. Their names have often appeared in reports linking business to politics, and their lifestyles have attracted public attention. Legal experts say the withdrawal does not mean the case is over, but it does raise serious questions about the consistency of the anti-corruption drive. Some argue that the decision undermines public trust in the justice system. Others believe it reflects the selective nature of prosecution, where political connections often determine who faces the law and who walks free. The public reaction has been sharp. Many citizens expressed frustration online, saying the withdrawal proves that corruption in Zimbabwe is protected by power. As one commentator said, "The small man goes to jail, but the big fish always swim away." For the NPA, this episode adds pressure on its credibility. The institution has been trying to rebuild confidence after a series of controversial cases, but this latest development risks undoing that progress. At a broader level, the Mpofu Chimombi saga highlights a painful reality. Zimbabwe's fight against corruption remains deeply political, and justice often bends to the will of the powerful. DWG accuses ZANU-PF of orchestrating Job Sikhala's arrest in South Africa, turning to international developments. The National Democratic Working Group has accused ZANU-PF of orchestrating the arrest of opposition politician Job Sikhala in South Africa. Sikhala, who fled Zimbabwe months ago, was detained by South African authorities under unclear circumstances. NDWG spokespersons allege that his arrest was politically motivated, describing it as part of a broader strategy to silence dissenting voices even beyond Zimbabwe's borders. According to their statement, ZANU-PF used diplomatic channels to pressure South African law enforcement into detaining Sikhala, a claim that Harare strongly denies. The ruling party insists it had nothing to do with the matter, saying Sikhala's arrest was purely a legal process involving immigration and pending cases. Still, questions remain. How did information about his location surface so quickly? Why did South African authorities act so swiftly? And why does it appear coordinated with statements from government figures in Harare? Sikhala's supporters say he has become a symbol of political resistance, a man who has endured arrests, imprisonment, and now possible extradition, all for speaking out. His lawyers have warned that any attempt to hand him over to Zimbabwean authorities would be a violation of human rights, political, Analysts view this as another test of regional solidarity and the strength of democratic institutions in southern Africa. If true, the alleged involvement of ZANU-PF would mark a worrying expansion of political repression. Beyond national borders, NDWG's statement has reignited the debate over whether Zimbabwe's ruling elite respects political pluralism or is determined to crush opposition voices at all costs. For now, Sikhala remains in legal limbo, his fate hanging between two nations, both under pressure to prove that justice, not politics, is at play. Closing analysis. From Tagwirei's growing influence in support of Mnangagwa's Vision 2030 to Chamisa's condemnation of human rights violations, the withdrawal of high-profile corruption cases, and the dramatic developments around Job Sikhala's arrest, Zimbabwe's political landscape is once again in motion. Each of these stories reveals a deeper truth about the country's present condition. The balance between power and accountability, the ongoing struggle between hope and disillusionment, and the question of whether the dream of Vision 2030 can be achieved in an environment still marked by fear, mistrust, and inequality. As we move toward another election cycle, these events remind us that leadership is not about loyalty to individuals, but to the people. It is not about silencing critics, but listening to them. And it is not about protecting the powerful, but empowering the powerless. Zimbabwe stands at a crossroads between progress and regression, between reform and repression. The path chosen in the coming years will define not just the political fate of the nation, but the everyday lives of millions of citizens yearning for justice, prosperity, and peace. This has been State of Affairs, Zimbabwe News Channel, bringing you facts, analysis, and the voice of the people. Stay informed, stay empowered, and thank you for watching.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.